couple of hours as of recording of this video, the government has just, the opposition rather, has just announced a kickoff to their new policy list that they will be announcing in process along towards the election year of next year. And they kicked it off with a doozy, with an absolute, in my opinion, a complete doozy. And I wasn't going to plan on making videos in terms of the Labour Party's new policy announcement, but this has really changed this has perked my ears up. So they have announced a fund called A Future Made in New Zealand. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Basically what the fund is that it invests in New Zealand and only in New Zealand, brings in, uses capital that the government currently owns and other commercial capital, with the government, specifically the Minister of Finance, being the sole shareholder. I'll speak more onto that. I've got a bit of a criticism when it comes to that. I watched the full press conference and I started to get a bit giddy, because if you haven't watched my recent podcast, I spoke in the middle of it, I believe, about the feeling that we are losing our identity. We are losing our Kiwi brand. Going a bit capitalism on you, pretty much. I have been, and especially in that podcast, I have also been talking about how this party, the Labour Party, has been the only party. As of recently, the Green Party has announced some important things, but in terms of in long-term history, the only party has been the Labour Party that has been headstrong in long-term vision. Now, there might have been people that they might have lost sight of things last government, but even then I disagree. There has been multiple, I think the shovel-ready projects. I think that the Three Waters has been an example. Even the ferries has been an example of long-term planning, getting this country on the right track for the next 40 years, 40 or 50 so years. But I will concede there has been some flimsiness, and that successive Labour governments have done so since the 70s, since superannuation in the 70s. I mean, yes, there has been the Cullen Fund, yes, there has been the Super Fund, and yes, KiwiSaver. So I actually, you know what, I'll concede. Helen Clark was pretty decent, but not good enough. I can't believe that I'm really excited about this, but I really am. What this effectively does is that I keep referring to my recent podcast. I wasn't intending on making a video on this, but I kept speaking about the importance of a long-term plan, the importance of setting this country on track where it was set in the 80s, and we've had to deal, successive governments, including the Labour government, have had to deal with it, deal with their own mistakes. Now is the opportunity. And I think, and I hope, and what it seems like to me is that the Labour Party and the Labour caucus and the Labour membership has recognised this. Barbara Emmons specifically, because she's the architect of this, apparently. Obviously, she's the finance spokesperson. That they've recognised this, that they have an opportunity next election. Next election, everyone says every election is pivotal. I genuinely believe this next election is very pivotal. I still think the current government's going to win, but there is a chance there. And I think the Labour Party is recognising this. This is the sort of policy, in my opinion, in my recent experience, I wouldn't even announce this policy until the second election afterwards. I'll just keep it in an idea and wait for the next new proper leader like Kieran McAnulty to announce this and to just hit it hard, because this is a very big policy. What this does is that it invests in New Zealand, a New Zealand identity, a New Zealand brand. This isn't just some marketing ad. This is real substance. This isn't like the super fund where you're just investing in retirees' money, or the Kiwis. This is none of that. This is a fund. This is like the Provincial Growth Fund, or the Norway. I forget the name of the Norway's fund. Oh my god! Norway's public investment fund thing. God, that's terrible. I should know that. This is investing in infrastructure, new energy, new clean energy, and new jobs, well-paying jobs, not just some crappy minimum wage manufacturing job, actual working, paying jobs that can actually put food on the table. I'm going to get to my main criticism on this right now. The only shareholder in this, they could have done something very bold here, and I think that would have gotten them a lot of flack. Maybe they might not have been able to shake it into the next election. That might have been a big downfall. I don't know. Their only shareholder, their only influence is the Minister of Finance. That's fine. In my opinion, something as big as this, you've got to bring the unions into this. You've got to bring the Council of Trade Unions. I really think that Council of Trade Unions should have a stake in this, and I really hope that there is some lobbying for this. I think that's really important. This is not just, again, I really want to emphasize this. This is not as simple as just a pot of money just being passed around. This is not a slush fund. This is a fund that gets invested in and reinvests in new projects across the board in New Zealand. Hipkins did let it slip, although he did say, and Barbara Emmons did say, that they will use state-owned enterprises, and they said they won't sell off. Obviously not. They'd be an idiot if they did. Their whole party would collapse. But they did kind of, I don't know whether or not they let it slip, but they did mention the farcicalness and the I'm going to throw this thing out. They did mention the farcicalness of the fact that we have lost 10 to $11 billion in dividends to private nobodies. And that money is not being reinvested into energy or into anything else in this country. And as such, is that a hint that they will buy them back? I don't know. But he did kind of hint that they could use, as an example, the energy state-owned enterprise like Mercury and others as to put it into the fund and use the dividends to feed back. If they're able to, if they will, I think the big thing is that if they buy back those shares, that's a big opportunity for this fund, for this made in New Zealand, future made. Let me look at that there. Future Made in New Zealand fund to be fed back into and to have a proper. There is a plan here, and I really want to emphasize this. If you are unsure about voting for Labour, if you're unsure, if you're someone who voted for National because there was no vision, the things weren't great, that they had wasteful spending, just look at what National's going to announce right now. They're going to announce selling off of our state assets. They're going to announce foreign investing, which just means selling off our identity to foreigners, foreign countries. And I don't mean that in a xenophobic way. I just mean I shouldn't say foreigners. Let me rephrase. Foreign capital. Hey, I'm not Winston Peters. Which includes the selling off of Anchor and Mainland, which doesn't do anything. It's a short-term benefit. This is actually recycling funds in our economy. This is huge. This is really, really huge. And I hope people on the left recognize this as such. Because if they think that this is just some finagling around the edges, they are imbeciles if they think that, which is why I'm making this video. I'm going to set the agenda now. This is a big, big, big deal. Obviously, they need other policy. Obviously, this is not the be-all and end-all, but this is a direction. This is a statement made by this party that they are setting the direction for this country for the next 40 years. This is really important. I'm going to speak really quickly about I really also want to mention really quickly about what I think is going to happen when it comes to how other opposition parties are going to angle this. I don't know. I really don't know, because when it comes to Winston Peters, for all his faults, I think he's a racist bastard. With due respect, he's a well-loved member, but with respect, I do think he's a racist xenophobe. That is who he is, and I think he'll admit that. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know how he's going to attack this. Is he going to call it woke? Is he going to call it Marxist? Is that all it's going to be? I know how, but maybe Shane Jones is going to call it Marxist. I don't know how their retort's going to be on this. Are they going to say that they're going to invest in? Oh, no, okay. Here I know what's going to happen here. They did mention about the opportunity, or they asked the question about the opportunity between Māori investment, the Māori economy contributing to this fund, which is important. The Māori economy, I believe, is about 200 billion. Don't correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have the facts right next to me. About 200, 400 billion. That's a big gap. So don't quote me on that. Take it with a grain of salt. It is very big. It is very big. Is that the angle that Winston Peters is going to go? They're bringing Maori into. The problem is, it's not like a Three Waters. Three Waters was brilliant. It just wasn't outlaid well enough. It wasn't advertised well enough, but it was good. But the problem was that they had iwi on the seed. This doesn't seem like the case. This is not that. So I don't know how he's going to run at it, because this is something that I think New Zealand First would love. This is something that New Zealand First will look and go, New Zealand First members, no matter how racist, although not every New Zealand First member is a racist. But when it comes to national, I don't know how they're going to angle this. I think that again, I would love to see the retort. I'm only recording this right now after I've just seen the press conference, so I'm not actually too sure what's going to happen here. For ACT, I just think they're going to say they're not going to open they're not opening the opportunity, and their government, that it's going to become a slush fund, and what it's going to do is that it's going to waste money, blah 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 blah, something. But I don't really care about the National Party or the ACT Party. The National Party is important. ACT Party is irrelevant. I'm more concentrating on New Zealand First and how they're going to respond to it, because they are trending up in the polls. And so I'm interested in what Winston's going to say about this. I'm also interested in what the Greens are going to say. I really hope they get on board to this, and I'm really hopeful that most lefties are going to get on board with this, and are really confident about this, because this is really important. This is really, I cannot say this enough, this is really bloody important. We really need to get this country made here. This needs to be a country for Kiwis by Kiwis. If you like this video, click like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to stay up to date with the weekly breakdown, the daily divide, and other bonus content.